So moving forward, we would now like to welcome our next keynote presenter, Marc Buckley, founder of ALOHAS Regenerative Foundation, Ecological Economist, Regenerative Futurist, Solar Punk, and Global Food Systems Reformist. Marc is a key figure in climate change and global sustainable development with over 2 decades of experience in international expert groups. He authored the UN SDG Manifesto and collaborates closely with the UNFCCC on regenerative solutions. Before I welcome him on stage, we will now play a video.
Hi, I'm Marc Buckley, ecological economist, regenerative futurist, and solar punk with a passion for reimagining the current systems of our world into regenerative, transformative ones that solve human suffering and our global grand challenges at their core. The reality is, never before in human history have we transformed from one era or epoch to another without innovation. Now, we are entering a transformative innovation supercycle with the convergence of quantum computing, a new human-machine interface powered by generative AI, as well as AI-enhanced genetics, biotech, robotics, and wearables, and this at a speed we have never seen before. For 3.8 billion years, quantum mechanical systems and other forms of sentience have existed in this natural world, in fungi and mycelium, in plants, bees, and animals, throughout scientific history, long before humans even appeared on Earth. Although much attention is given to the uncertainties and debates of quantum computing and AI, it is crucial that we do not overlook the importance of Earth's biodiversity and the valuable lessons we can learn from its systems. In biology, as in life and all living systems, 1 + 1 never ever equals 2. The real question I'd like to ask you is, what does a world that works for everyone look like to you? This question has been circulating for over 70 years, and it's the one we need to tackle today. Let's embark on this transformative journey together. Now, here is the real Marc Buckley to continue this enlightening conversation with you.
Thank you very much. I hope you all listened very closely to what was said in that AI deepfake generation of the AI Marc, the avatar Marc, because there's a lot of clues and things that we're going to talk about today. We are the regeneration generation, and we're in the midst of a technological super cycle. Now that's a mouthful, and we're here to talk about AI and technology and where it's taking us. But I want you to know that never, ever, ever, ever before in human history have we ever transformed from one age or epoch to another without some form of technology. The question that we're asking today and that we need to answer and get in our minds, and I want you to think about while we're here, what does a world that works for everyone look like for you? I want to do a social experiment with you, and this is the only one that I'm going to do with you today here at this talk, and we'll do some more in the workshop, so I recommend you come there. I want you to close your eyes for just a moment, and I want you to envision your home. Close your eyes and think about your home. Maybe what the smells are, what feelings you get in your body when you think about your home. Maybe you have some visuals that come to mind. And when you have that vision with your eyes closed of your home, then open your eyes. Okay? How many people had this vision? Raise your hands. 3 people? Do you think that's a problem? It's a huge problem. Some people were thinking about their farmhouse. Some people were thinking about their apartment, their condominium, that they were living in a house, that they were living with their parents, that they were living wherever, how it was designed and decorated. Maybe they have a cat, a dog, maybe they have some birds, maybe they have a nice kitchen that they love. They maybe think about the fresh baked cookies that they did, or the nice pasta or Asian dish that they had. Maybe they were thinking about the colors that they used in their home. But all of us were thinking about something different than this. And that's a problem when we want to get on the same page to move forward in the future, because there is no other home for us than this. And if we're not aligned on the same page with this home, that means we're divided against each other. We're fighting against each other on what a world that works for everyone looks like for you. I guarantee you that Donald Trump's version of what his home looks like is not what my version of my home looks like. And I'm sure it's probably not your version either. And so there is an importance to being unified on what our common home is. The other thing that we're going to go into throughout my talk is that, how do we have this image? What is this image? A lot of people say, yeah, that's our earth. This is the second catalog image of our home. It's called the blue marble. How do we have it? It's sheer innovation. It's technology. It's the latest computing power. Had we not gone to outer space using the latest technology, innovation, and computing power and amazing things, we wouldn't even have this image. So do not be mistaken that technology plays a vital, critical part in all of our futures and seeing our world in a different and unified way. So a world that works for everyone. We need to reimagine and restructuring our economic, social, and all of our systems on this earth so that we can have that unified vision of what a world that works for everyone looks like. I said in the video that I showed you that this question has been around for over 70 years. And I did a social experiment myself for the past 8 years. For the past 8 years, I have been recording on video and on my podcast, Inside Ideas, 3,600 plus people, asking them the question, what does a world that works for everyone look like for you? And there have been authors. Jenny has been on the podcast, who was a speaker yesterday and doing a workshop later today. This question. The problem is when I asked them this question, all 3,600 plus people started to stutter. They started to sweat. They said, can I come back and answer it later? I don't know. I thought they were going to have a grand mal seizure. I thought they were going to pass out, because most people did not know. Out of all the 3,600 people, only 7 people came close to the similar answer that was correct. The rest did not know. And then many people who I asked came back later and said, I thought about it. Can I give you a new answer? And I said, yeah, just as long as I can record it. And years later, weeks later, months later, their answer was always different from the first answer they gave me. That's why I recorded it. Now, I did the social experiment because I thought maybe I could record 50 people and get it on video, and then I could do a compilation video, and there would be this big aha moment, and I could present to you a beautiful video done by diverse people around the world, and we would all have the answer and say, oh, that's a no-brainer, we all know, and let's move forward to this beautiful future that works for everyone. But those 3,600 people didn't give me that answer, and I couldn't do that compilation video. I did a compilation video, but I think after the first 5 minutes, you would be very frustrated with what you heard. You would see that we're not unified. You would see that we're not all on the same page, but we're all on the same earth. It's okay if you don't know the answer to that question, and I don't want you to feel bad if you don't know. But what I want to let you know is if you don't know the answer to that question, someone else in your life, a president, a senator, a mayor, a governor, a priest, your mother, your father, your grandparents, your grandmother, someone in your life has jumped into that position in your life, whether they said, don't worry, I know what a world that works for everyone looks like for me, I'm going to guide you on that future. It's usually presidents, it's usually mayors, governors, senators, Congress, someone, some minister, some royal family that says, oh, don't worry, we got it. We know what the future is for our people. I work for the United Nations. I travel all around the world, and there is not a single person that has created a system, a governance that is guiding me on the future that works for everyone. And so if you know the answer to this question, and you're in a city, a state, a country that you say, boy, my life's not, the way it's going is not the world that works for everyone, and it's not the world that works for me, you have a choice. You can divest your time, money, energy, and your vote to not support someone who's not guiding you on the future that you desire. So obviously we're talking about technology, so I thought, well, I've asked 3,600 people this question, why don't I ask ChatGPT? So I did. And immediately it gave me the answer. And guess what? It was the correct answer. And I thought, wow, that's amazing. This is absolutely fabulous. And then I thought, well, maybe it could even be better. And as you know, ChatGPT has this beautiful, and it's my favorite word, regenerate button on the bottom. And I thought, can this even get better? So I could hit that button. Guess what happened? It gave me the same answer. I thought, this is broken. There's something wrong. It shouldn't give me the same answer. So I hit it again and hit it again. I hit it 120 times, and every time it was the same answer. The way I understand AI is this large learning language model, and we train it with our books, our PDFs, our internet, our knowledge. We train this. How in the hell did it know the answer, but 3,600 human beings did not know the answer? Did we domesticate technology, or did it domesticate us? Well, the newer versions in Gemini and Claude and even the updated ChatGPT, still the same answer, but it's even finer now. It gives you actionable items, it gives you detailed numbers and bullet points, and goes even into more detail. I want you to think about that. If we're the parents of artificial intelligence and we train that, how can it know the answer? But 3,600 people do not know the answer. That means our education system, our politics, our governance, our systems in this world are not providing us with the information to unify ourselves on the same planet so that we can think intergenerationally for futures ahead. I want to tell you why it's 70 plus years old. It's because of this man. This is an architect, polymath, designer. His name is R. Buckminster Fuller. He wrote a wonderful book. It's called The Operating Manual for Spaceship Earth. He published it in 1969. First of all, I never knew that there was an operating manual for Spaceship Earth. That's pretty cool. Second of all, it was done in 1969. And third of all, if you turn that book sideways and look at it, it's thinner than this book. It's just a toilet read. It's probably 40, 50 pages big. It's just a thin toilet read. The reason I call it a toilet read is because you could probably read it in one sitting in the morning, which is amazing because it's the operating manual for Spaceship Earth. How could it be so thin and concise? I want you to think about the simplicity of our world and how we complicate it so much. This is the World's Expo in 1967 in Montreal, Canada. And the reason I show you this is R. Buckminster Fuller built this geodesic dome because he was an architect and a polymath. And the World's Fair, if you've ever been to a World's Expo or World's Fair, it's people from all different countries around the world coming together. So not only did he build this dome, but guess what they played inside of that dome in 1967? They played the world game or the peace game to answer the question, what does a world that works for everyone look like for you? 1967, that's unheard of. Well, they did, and that's where this question comes from, and it's been asked at the UN, at the international organizations, at levels ever since. This is the inside cover of that book where he gives the answer to the question, what does a world that works for everyone look like for you? And the answer is up there, but I blew it up here so you could read it. It's to make the world work for 100% of humanity in the shortest possible time through spontaneous cooperation without the ecological offense or disadvantage of anyone. That is unbelievable. 1969, R. Buckminster Fuller gave his why, his purpose for existing, his mission. He didn't say, I want to be the best architect in the world. He didn't say, I want to be a billionaire or a millionaire. His why and purpose for existing, his answer to that question was for all of humanity, to make the world work for 100% of humanity. That's unbelievable. This is my 8th book that I published, just published a few months ago. And it was published by Moorman Publishing. It's the top 100 chief sustainability officers, out of which 10 received an award, and numerous ones wrote in this book. John Elkington has a section in this book, if you know who he is. He came up with the triple bottom line 31 years ago. And in this book, I talk about leadership for sustainable futures. And I talk about some principles for sustainability that I'm sure not many of you have heard, even though you're representing sustainable brands. And in what I want to impart to you today is systems thinking, ecological literacy, regenerative literacy, intergenerational justice and vision, and give you some understanding of the basics, not only of sustainability, but the basics of regeneration. Because I'm pretty sure, and I'm not have a big ego, and I'm not trying to make you look bad, but you've been misinformed, that you don't know, that you don't have these basics. We want to use technology in this process as well of systems thinking, eco-literacy, That's how we had that second catalog image of our planet, which spurs this overview effect or this cosmic perspective that starts to shift our way of thinking, that there's better ways of doing things and systems to implement in our world. So why would we change? Well, we're in the Anthropocene. There's a lot of wars and bad things and climate impacts going on in our world. And the reason why they're going on is we're not living in harmony and progressing with the same way our world is going. There's a term called the Anthropocene for the age of man-made climate change. But it's not just a word, it's not vocabulary, grammar, or terminology. It's actually a mathematical equation. It's scientific way that we come up with that. And the human factor is, since the industrial age, about 200 plus years, we've been creating the Anthropocene by having human man-made actions that are creating problems for us in our world. And Patagonia, they said, forget the Anthropocene, we're in the age of the Shithropocene. We're in the age of man-made shit. And I want to show you a little video of how they explain the age or epoch that we're in.
Many scientists and historians think we're entering into a new epoch, one where things are simply crappier. Come with us as we investigate this new era of the Shithropocene.
Set. Okay, untitled film about how everything has gone to shit and we're all pretty much fucked. Take one.
Okay, rolling.
Hi.
Do you want me to start with a joke?
As long as you're prepared for me not to necessarily laugh at it.
I don't know if I can emotionally handle that.
Then don't.
I'm going to do it anyways. What's Beethoven's favorite fruit?
Bum bum bum. Banana?
Consumption is the act of consuming things. And a lot of those things are the stuff we need to survive. But we are entering into an era where even if our basic needs are met, we buy more and more stuff that's been designed to be used for a distressingly small amount of time. Particularly our clothing, which accounts for up to 10% of carbon emissions and is filling our landfills with regrettable fashion decisions.
Do we really want to tell this story? Ugh.
The decrease in quality and acceleration of turning resources into rubbish is doing bad things to our planet, which is bad because that's where almost all of us live. Until now, no one has ever really bothered to look into it. Join us as we talk to leading experts in the field.
Feels like I'm a sociopath because I'm like looking into the camera and I'm like, now's the end of the sentence.
I'm gonna drink some pretend coffee. I'm so sharp.
Hold the perpetrators accountable.
All right, Pedro, we're going to ask you some tough questions.
And embark on an investigation into why the things we use to cover up our naughty bits have all gone to shite.
We have this enormous problem that is threatening the entire world. Some of the most devastating social, environmental problems were embedded in our garments.
And we're just like, shit, well, what do we do?
Many scientists and historians think we're entering into a new epoch, one where things are simply crappier. Come with us as we investigate this new era of the Shithropocene.
So the Shithropocene, the age of cheap shit. Well, that's a unique way to define the age we're in. That's not where we want to be. That's not where we want to go. Talking about shit, Patagonia, is not a shitty company. It's actually a really wonderful company, and their only stakeholder is Mother Nature, is the planet, is the earth. They've defined that. That's their only shareholder, stakeholder, the only person that they're accountable for. So that's a fabulous move in the right direction. I'm a farmer, and I deal a lot with farming and agriculture. And so I used to joke for a long time, and I used to talk about, we need good bullshit to make good compost. And as you might have noticed, I didn't say very nice things about Donald Trump, but I think we need a form of good bullshit or bad actors, people who are not doing good on the planet, so that we can compost that and make healthy, fertile fertilizer and compost so that we can grow something else. And it's not just a metaphor. We want to compost late-stage capitalism and get into regenerative economies. Now, this stuff I'm not making up. No matter how many swear words you hear, it's not coming from me. I'm not making up the Anthropocene, the Shithropocene. That's why I'm showing you these videos. But I'm trying to get you in the mindset and thinking about a better way. This is Tom Chi. He used to be with Google. He has his own venture now, At One Ventures, and he talks about composting late-stage capitalism.
Metaphors matter because it does shape the way that we think about the problem and therefore approach the problem, what we consider to be a win or not. But I think the better metaphor is we need to compost late-stage capitalism.
Welcome to The Regeneration Will Be Funded. I'm your host, Matthew Monahan, and in this series, we're having conversations about regenerative finance, technology, and our living planet. How can we build an economy that's in service to life? Brought to you by Ma Earth. You can find all of our conversations at maearth.com.
So that's a fabulous podcast. It goes long. They have many people, but they talk to Tom Chi, and it basically talk about how we can compost late-stage capitalism. We don't need to take capitalism or the bad things that we've created in this planet and throw the baby out with the bathwater. We can take those things and compost them and reuse them to make a fertile soil, fertile new future, a regenerative economy, moving forward. So it does need to stop. We do need to stop in the direction that we're going, and we need to start going in the right direction with this. And that's how we go from the Anthropocene to the next age that we want to go into, the Symbiocene. Symbiocene comes from Glenn Albrecht, who wrote a book, New Words for a New World. But it comes from the core root of symbiosis, how we need to act with everything on our planet. Now, there are 3 principles of sustainability, and just by looking at this slide, how many people already knew these 3 principles of sustainability? Number 1 is economics, and not just any economics, ecological economics. Not capitalism, not GDP, not growth, not classical, not neoclassical, not micro or macro economics, but ecological economics. The second is innovation. What does economics have to do with principles of sustainability? What does innovation have to do with sustainability? That's weird. And it's not just any innovation, it's transformative impact innovations for purpose that transform humanity from one age or epoch to the other. Now, never before in human history have we transformed from one age or epoch to another without innovation. The pneumatic tire, the steam engine, the printing press, the computer. I want you to know that AI is what we call a general purpose technology. It's called ChatGPT. It's a general purpose technology. So is quantum computing, so are biotechs. Those are general purpose technologies, and when you combine them in a super cycle of general purpose technologies, we can come to that cusp of another age of transformation. Just like the innovation when we saw the blue marble, we went to space. That's a general purpose technology that transforms humanity from one age or epoch to the other. And the third is the future, or futures, plural, as I like to say, using foresight, futurism, intergenerational visions of the future. If you don't know what a vision or a goal or a mission is for the future or what it will look like, how do you know where you're going? How do you know what you're working for? So, a lot of people confuse the three principles of sustainability with the triple bottom line: people, planet, and profit. And that's why I bring it up, because I'm not talking about the triple bottom line, but it's important to know because just last week here in Kuala Lumpur, there's a company that put out a report, and in that report, they were talking about the triple bottom line: people, planet, and profit, and how their company was doing towards that. They might not have got the memo, but in 2018, the father of the triple bottom line, John Elkington, who came up with it, he recalled it. He pulled it off the market. He pulled it off of the world and recalled it because he was at the World Business Council for Sustainable Development, a sub-organization that works closely with the United Nations, with the We Mean Business Coalition, with Unilever, Pepsi, Coke, and all sorts of other big sustainable brands. And they were using the triple bottom line as a single bottom line accounting principle, only concerned about the profit. And he got so fucking pissed off that he got up and he says, I'm so sick of these meetings. I'm so sick that we're using the triple bottom line as profit only. We don't care about people and planet. We're just greenwashing. You're talking We Mean Business Coalition. And he stormed out. He left. And the very next day, in the Harvard Business Review, he published the recall of the triple bottom line. He says, I'm recalling it. I'm sick of you guys using it as profit only. You're greenwashing, and I'm sick of bad business because it's hurting our world and it's hurting people. So he recalled it. But what happens when you recall a product? What happens when you recall something? Well, you fix it and put something new out there. And that's what he did. And it is ungreenwashable. And that's why I absolutely love it. It's the new triple bottom line. It's the 3 R's: responsibility, resilience, and regeneration. How many have heard of that? Oh, great. 5 people. The reason this is so fabulous is because it's ungreenwashable. Within minutes, weeks, hours, months, no more than months, if somebody is trying to greenwash or fake this, guess what? It comes to the surface so quickly. They don't have resilience, they don't have responsibility, and they definitely don't have regeneration. The minute a risk or climate thing happens to their organization, they have to close their doors. They have to find a bailout. They don't have any hold, no foundation. And you can tell that it was just a bunch of empty words and promises. Companies who have the new triple bottom line reduce their costs of goods sold, increase their profit margins, do good for people, planet, and profit. They have long-term stability, and they're working on a much brighter vision for the future. I want you to know that sustainability is life. It equals life. Sustainability, as in this book that I told you I wrote about chief sustainability officers, is not a job role. It's not a job function. I bet some of you in this room are maybe one of few people in your company that deal with sustainability within your organization. I applaud you, and I'm glad you're the pioneer, but the age of having one or a department take care of sustainability in your work or your workplace is gone. Sustainability is not a job function. It's a life function, and it's all of our lives. Everybody in your company, including the CEO and the C-suite, should have sustainability as a core function of their job, and everybody should be supporting that. It is life. And here's another big thing that we probably missed out on, and I have to say, I taught it for many years. Oh, we need to have this work-life balance. Work-life balance is absolute bullshit. It does not exist. It's never existed. There is only life. And it's work and life are one. If you think you're going to get to work and, oh, I'm the chief sustainability officer now and sustainability from 9 to 5, and that's not how it works. If you are one person at work, let's say it's going as good as possible. You just got a raise, you got a new corner office, a promotion, everything's going great. And then here at home, let's say you just got married, you're probably going to have a baby, you bought a new house, things are going great. Guess what? You've stayed exactly in the middle because both of those are going in different directions and there's only life. You're being pulled in two different directions if you think there's a work-life balance. You're probably schizophrenic, bipolar, or on the verge of burnout. You're saying, sorry, my language, fuck, I had to go to this sustainable brands conference and it was boring and I'm sitting there and learning about sustainability and my boss sent me. That's not what it's about. You're in the wrong place if that's what you think it's about. You need to integrate sustainability and regeneration in every aspect of your life, and every employee should be supporting you and say, man, this is the greatest company in the world. We care about people, planet, profit. We're regenerating. We're resilient. We're responsible. We're giving back and leaving the planet better than we found it. Isn't that a great company to work for? They pay you well. You love your coworkers. You love the job you do. You're making the world better, and you're moving forward with the planet. We are not in the business of business. We're in the business of life. We are in the business of life. It is so important that we understand it's a regenerative evolution. Life on Earth is 3.8 billion years old, and it's a regenerative evolution to the point that we're in. And the more we fight to mechanize and reduce and hold each other back, the slower our evolution is, and the further the Earth keeps progressing and evolving without us. We need to keep a symbiotic pace with the way our world is evolving and do that together with our Earth and everything on it. We are on a development evolution of how we live life. Now I'm going to talk about sustainable development. I'm going to talk about development. There's two types of development. There's inner development and there's outer development. I'm only going to focus on the outer development. The reason I'm going to do that is because it's really hard to focus on the inner development when you don't have the basics on the outer development. No clean water, sanitation, energy, no electricity. You don't have the basic needs met. It's really hard to focus on the inner development. And there's obviously the inner development goals, and then there's the sustainable development goals that the United Nations are pushing to help with both of those things. Outer development, just to define it, what is it? It's the built environment. It's how we live. It's basic infrastructure, city, country, world development. It's how we live. It's infrastructure, it's real estate, it's development, it's residential, it's commercial, it's hospitals, it's schools, it's public utilities, it's water, sanitations, and parks. That's what development is. You know what else development is? There's two different worlds. There's people who live like this, there's people who live like that, right? It's different for everybody, like the question I asked you in the beginning, where's our common home? But it's an economy. Development is one of our world's largest economies. From 2015 to 2030, development is a 89 trillion US dollar economy. 89 trillion, not billion, trillion. That's pretty big, but it's also a big problem because we call this business as usual development, or the high carbon scenario. It means we build things with a lot of resources, a lot of emissions, a lot of death, and a lot of inequality to other people. I just came from Thailand, and there's a big development project there. And they do a lot of sustainable things, don't get me wrong, in this development project. But all the people who work for the development company, none of them can afford to live in the development that they're building. That's not very good. And there's a lot of emissions and a lot of monies and a lot of business as usual is how they do those development. So just be known, development is an economy, and it's one of our world's largest economies. So what is sustainable development? Well, the reason I define this is a lot of people, you see the Sustainable Development Goal pin I have here. I wrote the Sustainable Development Goal Manifesto for the United Nations. People tell me all the time, Sustainable Development Goals or the Sustainable Development, it's a Klaus Schwab from the World Economic Forum conspiracy theory. Sustainable development, it's woke, not real. It's the new world order. Be careful. But what is it? In reality, sustainable development's an evolution. It's just a way to live a little bit better. It's not perfect. It's a step, one step to live a little bit better. And it's also an economy. It's an ecological economic model. It's an ecological economy. And it also has a dollar amount. It is 94 trillion US dollars from 2015 to 2030. But it's a little bit or a lot better than regular development. It's what we call the low carbon scenario. We use more circular economy, better materials, LEEDs, BREEAMs, ISO standards. We use better materials, more hemp, more wood. We have less emissions in the production of sustainable development. We do all sorts of things to keep it lower carbon. So it's not perfect, but it's kind of a foundation and a step into doing things better. Is it the end goal? No. Most people don't know that the Sustainable Development Goals there were goals before the Sustainable Development Goals called the Millennium Development Goals. But did other people, or do you know that there's going to be goals after the Sustainable Development Goals? I started the development of those in 2019 with the United Nations. There will be other goals after the Sustainable Development Goals in 2030, December 31st, 2030. The difference between this extra $5 trillion between the $89 trillion is we have much better outcomes. We build a foundation to go off into resilience and regeneration on, whereas regular development, we don't build any foundation. The way that money is spent is when a building gets too old, we just tear it down and build a new one. With sustainable development, we always regenerate, repurpose, renew. We try to use materials that already exist. That what I mentioned, compost, late-stage capitalism. We try to take existing things to restore, regenerate, and rejuvenate those things that already exist. We don't get rid of jobs. We don't get rid of materials. We try to make them circular. We try to reuse them. So these are the Sustainable Development Goals. That's how they were presented to us, 1 through 17. And I'm sorry, we messed up. They're wrong. This is not how you look at them. If I talk to people about them and say, oh yeah, red's my favorite color, number 1, that's the one I'm working on. And I say, great, that's fabulous. But guess what? We don't look at them linear or lateral like this. They're all tied together as a system, and we need to look at them unified. And that's why I wrote the Sustainable Development Goal Manifesto. Imagine a world by December 31st, 2030, where there is no poverty and zero hunger. We have good health and well-being, quality education, and full gender equality everywhere. There is clean water and sanitation for everyone. Affordable and clean energy has created decent work and regenerative economic growth. Our prosperity is fueled by investments in regenerative industry, innovation, and infrastructure, and that has reduced inequalities. We live in sustainable cities and communities, and responsible consumption and production has healed our planet and has stopped and reversed the warming of our planet. We have flourishing life below water and abundant, diverse life on land. We enjoy peace and justice through strong institutions and have built long-term partnerships for the goals. This manifesto is a call to action, a commitment to never cease developing, striving, and evolving for a better world. This is how we need to look at the Sustainable Development Goals as a wedding cake, a pie, a chart, that the basic layer, the biosphere, is how we produce everything. Computers, cars, food, this is how we need to look at it. And that they're all tied to food, and they're all a system. And that's why I wrote the goals. This is my own version of that same pyramid. The bottom is the biosphere, social and economic, that were protected by an atmosphere. And guess what? Those past two charts, what are they similar to? They're similar to this. And who is this for? This is Maslow's hierarchy needs. And the bottom two, this is human beings' physiological needs. These two bottom layers, breathing, food, water, sex, sleep, homeostasis, excretion, security of body, employment, resources, mortality, family, health, property. Who are they for? They're for us. Who are these for? They're for us. Are they Klaus Schwab conspiracy theory? Heck no. They're for us. They're how we live. They're to give us the basic rights of how we want to live. Never before have we transformed from one age or epoch to another without innovation or a transformation. And everybody's only talking about number 6, the digital transformation or the digital revolution. That's number 6. There's 5 other ones. The first one is education and gender inequality. There's 5 other transformations that we need to make to go from the Anthropocene, not to the Shithropocene, but to a new age or epoch. And all these 6 transformations, they are tied to the Sustainable Development Goals. And just so you don't think I made up that dollar number, this is from the UN, 90 trillion US dollars. Here's another one from The Guardian. Just so you know that everything that I'm telling you about is hard facts. These are the 2 scenarios. This is regular development, business as usual, 89 trillion US dollars. And here's the sustainable development. There's data, facts. It's how we live. It's development. It's the built environment. Do we want to live a little bit better, a little bit nicer? When we think, what does a world that works for everyone look like for us? Isn't that about evolution of how we want to live? Well, a lot of people say that's a lot of money. I can't even think about $30,000, let alone $94 trillion, Mark, $94 trillion. This is COP26 in Glasgow, 3 years ago now. On the COP is Conference of the Party. It's the climate conference for the UN. And guess what? They have it 2 weeks long. And on the first week, on Thursday, Mark Carney and Rishi Sunak, who was the former prime minister, he's now been replaced by someone new just recently. They vowed 130 trillion US dollars towards the Sustainable Development Goals and to the heart of climate finance. So there is more than enough money out there. We're not hurting for money. We're not searching for it. It's out there. There's just not enough companies and projects out there that are doing things sustainably with the right things. So if you need money, if you want to do things sustainably or regenerative, come talk to me because I'll help you get that money. There are green bonds, green funds in the trillions. There's just not enough good projects or products out there that are moving in that right direction. These are the old classical economic models that I want to tell you that we've been using in our world, and they don't work. They're shitty. They're part of the Anthropocene. What happens is when these get bad, there's a bubble that forms, and that bubble gets bigger, and when that bubble bursts, we bail it out with monies, and then we go right back to that shitty, broken economic model. Isn't that the definition of insanity? If we have an economy that fails and doesn't work, why would you go back to it after you've bailed it out and just keep going? Isn't that a little bit crazy? I want you to know that everyone in this room can name 5 ecological economic models for me. 5. Because there's more than 32. And there's new ones coming out every single week. And the difference between these ecological economic models and the old classical ones is the old classical ones are competing against each other. This one is not. You can choose one of them or you can choose all of them. They only give each other redundancy and they amplify and strengthen so that it's equal for everyone. There's circular economy, donut economics, regenerative economics. The Sustainable Development Goals are an ecological economic model. There's well-being economy. There's the Buddhist economy. There's the feminist economy. There are a lot of ecological economic models in our world. And that's the 3 principles of sustainability and why they're so important and so important for you and your business models and in your life. So that you know what that means. Doesn't mean you're a tree hugger. It doesn't mean you're a hippie. It doesn't mean you're one person in an organization that isn't fighting against everybody in your organization because you want everyone to live in a better world. In biology, as in life, and all living systems and their nested subsystems, 1 + 1 never, ever, 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 never, ever has equaled 2. It's always a super exponential and verges into quantum tunneling. Have you heard about quantum computers? The reason I say quantum tunneling is because living systems and applying them in your business models is verging on the quantum. That's how you can make quantum leaps. That's what we're going to talk about in my workshop and how you and your organization can do those using technology. This is the father and inventor of the quantum string theory. I want you to listen to what he tells you about quantum and living systems that we've talked about here today.
Because like I said, it's trial and error. Almost all chemistry and biology is done by trial and error.
Mostly error.
How is penicillin discovered? We discovered new penicillins the same way, by accident. So we're not talking about not by accident, but systematically creating fertilizer, creating new drugs, new therapies. Because that's how Mother Nature does it. Mother Nature does not do it by petri dishes. Mother Nature does it quantum mechanically.
So let me get back to your earlier comment that Mother Nature is a quantum computer. Did you say that?
In that sense, yes. You go outside, you see photosynthesis taking place, you see energy being converted into useful chemicals, you see life, you see all sorts of chemical processes happening, none of which can be duplicated by an ordinary computer. That's where quantum computers can come in.
And all of it is happening like it's just another day under the sun.
That's right. So in other words, we actually have quantum computers. They're called leaves, plants, vegetation. All of them are quantum mechanical. Why did you eat breakfast this morning? It was a byproduct of quantum computers. Why do we have a green revolution? The green revolution was a quantum revolution. That's why we had fertilized crops. And that's why we have a food shortage today, because we're running out of fertilizer. That's why we need quantum computers to come in to fill the gap. A second green revolution is a byproduct of the quantum revolution.
Wow. And that would be one of the next eras that you're talking about.
Yeah.
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 Now let's
That's symbiosis. Symbiosis is 3.8 billion years old. We're not done. Can you go back to my slides? I just want to do 2 more. We're going to have to take the time before I do questions. There's something I want to show you guys. Thank you. Symbiosis is so important. It's 3.8 billion years old. It's how life formed on Earth. I want you to know that you're regenerative. We crawled out of the primordial soup of this Earth. Don't be mistaken. The process is the way you've shown up on this world is 3.8 billion years old. It's a process of symbiosis. It's the model of the universe. It's the model of life. The models that you think you're running with a chief sustainability officer, capitalism, they're not models of life. They're mechanistic reductionism models that you think work. And the reason you're unhappy, the reason you're struggling, the reason you feel like a robot, that you're forced here by your boss to come and listen and talk about sustainability, is because you're fighting nature, you're fighting life. I want to give you the tools, because if you apply these in the real world, not only will you be happy, you'll be super successful, because you will harness that quantum. We have discussions about AI being sentient, but guess what? Life on Earth for 3.8 billion years has been sentient. Bees, fungus, mycelium, plants, they have been sentient forever, but we've never had a discussion about plants or the bumblebee becoming sentient and taking over human beings. But maybe we should have, because they've been sentient for 3.8 billion years. Do not mistake that ever. So it's kind of crazy to think that we would have discussions about that about AI. Symbiosis is an ecological phenomenon, and it's the world's most advanced form of evolutionary innovation. It's super exponential. It's on quantum tunneling. So no matter what computer, no matter what AI you show me, I can show you living systems in nature. And this doesn't come from me. I'm not a scientist or some super. This comes from hard math and science, the way our worlds work that we've discovered. Everything that I've said comes from books, comes from scientists. We are not neo-Darwinism or neoliberalism. We are not survival of the fittest, natural selection, severe competition. That's never how the world has worked. And Lynn Margulis said through her books and her work, the way our world works is through symbiosis, in cooperation, in collaboration, one with each other, but in this symbiotic relationship with our planet. It's the symbiocene, and it's where we want to go.
We have been called to come together.
We're all being called.
We are being called
to come together. To come together, to connect.
To connect, and to regenerate.
Regenerate.
To connect and to regenerate.
This is a call to the citizens of this planet. What is regeneration?
What is regeneration?
Regeneration puts life
at the center of every act and every decision.
We've inherited an economic system that is extractive and degenerative.
Vital connections have been severed between human beings and nature.
This disconnection and degeneration has brought us to the brink of an unimaginable crisis.
Degeneration is stealing the future.
Regeneration is healing the future. Is healing the future.
A regeneração é o único caminho a seguir.
The only path forward. Regeneration means infusing our towns and our cities with nature.
Rewilding our towns and cities.
Transportation that cleans the air and calms the spirit.
Cleans the air and
calms the spirit.
Regeneration brings our soils back to
Our
life.
soils back to life.
Regeneration creates locally operated renewable energy systems everywhere.
To enable people to take the energy transition into their own hands and make the planet cleaner.
Regeneration means bringing First Nations knowledge to the forefront.
Embracing indigenous wisdom.
Indigenous story, indigenous voices.
Essential knowledge systems that we need to live in harmony and address the crisis.
Regeneration means giving the young people the power
to shape their own future.
This is what democracy looks like. Empowered communities and citizens.
Regeneration means restoring our planet's ecosystem,
allowing the living world to flourish once more.
To me, regeneration means...
To me, regeneration means love.
Protection, harmony,
resilience.
Loving the life that we've been given on this beautiful planet.
Regeneration means knowing the people in my neighborhood and
Living in a safe, strong, and caring
community.
Regeneration benefits every person, every living being.
Respeitar, conservar, proteger, cuidar.
We can use what we have in our unique way to take care of this place that we love.
Cuidar.
Our home. Regeneration is how we can do that. We're all in this together, man. This is a call to the citizens of this planet who want a better future for all living beings. A call to the Regenerative.
I am striking for climate justice and telling the truth in Russia, but it's dangerous to be a climate activist.
I power all my concerts with 100% renewable energy.
I'm working with farmers to find the best ways to increase soil health and increase biodiversity.
I hold our government accountable for their continuous climate denial and undoubtable support for the fossil fuel industry.
I hike mountains in high heels to build queer community in the outdoors, to advocate for our one true queen, Mother Nature.
We are all being called to come together, to connect, and to regenerate. See, we're moving from an industrial civilization to an ecological civilization. We're all here, alive in this moment, to make this happen. You are the regeneration.
You are the regeneration.
You are the regeneration.
You are the regeneration.
We are the regeneration.
We are the regeneration.
We are the regeneration.
We are the regeneration. Somos a floresta. Somos os rios. Nós somos a regeneração.
This is the regeneration.
You are the regenerative regeneration, the regenerative generation. Just as a final, I want you to know that the word regenerative and the meaning of it means to create the conditions that are conducive to life, to thrive and flourish amid ever-changing life conditions. If you're running a model, if you're working in an organization that is not creating the conditions that are conducive to life, you are destroying life. You are on a road to destruction. You won't be around in the future, and you definitely won't be happy. The moment you realize that, the moment you embrace these new business models and the way the world works for the future, you will be so happy. There are so many regenerative models. It's how our world works and how it's always worked. We need to go from ego beyond eco to seva, which is an old Sanskrit word, which means regeneration, selfless service to life. I thank you so much, and let's all go to the Symbiocene. I've taken more time than I should, so there's some questions. Let's see. Have you crossed paths or met Malaysians at UN conferences or assemblies? Absolutely, many, many, many times. Some of my best friends are from Malaysia, and I always go to that. Matter of fact, I've spoken at the Malaysia booth or pavilion at the UN before. And I love how the national communication of Malaysia is really promoted there. Do you think projects like the line in Saudi Arabia are aligned with the principles of the Symbiocene concept? I wrote the livability thesis for the line for Saudi Arabia for MBS, and at the time I wrote the livability thesis, I really thought that it would be aligned and that it would go in the right direction, but I have to tell you, I'm not so sure now. I'm actually thinking it's going in the wrong direction with some of the things. There's a lot of good things happening there and moving in the right direction, but they're not following the livability thesis that I wrote for them. They have so many ministries, and not all ministries are on the same page and communicating together. They don't have a unified vision of that livability, so that's how I would answer that. How can green capitalism avoid sacrificing global south for electric vehicle production with vulnerable communities bearing the cost while rich people benefit from it? I think that's a question that I don't want to answer now. It's not as important as all the other stuff I said. So I really appreciate you guys, and I hope you come to my workshop. It will blow your mind.